Today on the Idiot's Guide, we are talking about instant relaxation. Is it possible? Does it take a lot of training and know-how? Why is it even so important anyway? It's very possible, yes, very doable, and way easier than you think. I'm your host, Adam Richardson, aka the Profit Hacker, and I'm joined by the man in charge, Mr. Joe Haslam. Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. So there's this article that in the New York Post by writer Hannah Sparks that talks about self-care and how absolutely terrible we are as adults. It's really, really bad. The statistics are terrible. And honestly, like before I just self-deprecate, I feel a lot better actually reading the article because I know I'm not alone. Like general public is just in the same boat I am.
I don't think anyone needed a news article to know we were all terrible at self-care.
Hey guys, real quick, if you're new to the channel, if this is something brand spanking new to you, hit the subscribe button. We put stuff out every single week, so it's something, hit that like button as well. And that helps us so that if you hit the like button, this goes to somebody else like you that might be interested in the same stuff you're interested in. So give us a chance, and we'll get more and more viewers that way. So if you like it, tell us. So in this article, basically, it really kind of gives some sad statistics, but it's only like 47% that claim they're getting, actually, the average is 40 minutes per day of any kind of opportunity to relax. Okay, that's the average. And I feel like that's generous. Most people think like they want to kind of plan on an hour. They want to have that like thought, like I'm going to have an hour of relaxation today. And then while they're screaming in traffic and they're like, there's no chance for them to have that hour. It doesn't show up. But, it's 40% or 47% claiming they have fewer than that. And really like it's interesting. This whole statistic themselves is done by Sensodyne was who did it. One poll did the actual statistic. They asked 2,000 people. I don't know why Sensodyne was the proponent for this, but they were the one who wanted this information. But just to throw this out, I'm gonna jump right into these numbers here because it's kind of interesting. One of the biggest or probably highest rated one for getting that relaxation, exercise.
Oh yeah.
Now, fitness wise, I don't really feel like that's my favorite thing. Like I'm like, you know what I want to do to relax? I definitely don't want to exercise ever. Like that's not relaxing to me. That's work.
It depends on the exercise.
Okay, you're right. But if I think of the idea of relaxing, I think of like cucumbers over my eyes and like, someone giving me a foot massage. I don't know. Like I mean, obviously that's not even on this list of situations, but one, like the next one down. Okay. I can get this one. Listening to music.
There you go.
35%. They of the 2,000 participants. Going on a walk is 33. Oddly, though, flossing and brushing your teeth. I'm like, okay, the average is...
This is by Sensodyne, so I'm going to call a little bit of BS on that.
There's some bias in this poll. They're like, okay, we want you to really lean on, heavy on oral hygiene. You're good. So 38 minutes per day is the average. I'm not going to floss my teeth for 38 minutes. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm trying to convince my daughter 2 minutes is healthy. Okay. But,
wow.
so I don't really want to if you want, I'll link in this article will be linked into the show notes. And so if you want to read the whole article, it's actually kind of funny. It's really short, probably 2 minutes, and you're done with the article. But it gives some good insight as to how bad off we are. And obviously in an oral hygiene sort of way as well.
If you're brushing your teeth for self-care, then we're in a lot worse of a state than I thought.
I'm like, what if I'm listening to music and like,
I have nothing on that one.
So the goal of today is to really just tackle some ideas about why it's important to relax. Why is it something we should prioritize? And and some of the maybe some of the ways to do so, and also some of the benefits of why it is so good. Am I fair in saying that, Joe?
Yeah.
All right. So I know that I have a pile of papers in front of me, but honestly, I'm halfway through them at this point, and we still have a good amount of time to go. So I don't really. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about your angle about relaxation and some of the things that maybe we can kind of bounce off of each other as you start your side of this.
So there are a couple of things that I wanted to kind of talk about with relaxation, self-care, all those kinds of things. One is the scientific neurological side of it. Why is it important? Why do we get so desperate for it? And why, when we don't get it, we perform poorer in all activities. Mm-hmm. And the other one is from a business standpoint, from a personal finance standpoint, from any of those kinds of things, why it's so important to put that in there. And so when you think about it neurologically, okay, so neurocognitive development is the process of developing neural pathways, why we act the way we do, how we act the way we do, how we grow, how we learn, all that kind of stuff in order to interact with the world around us in the future. Okay, that's a really long explanation for it. But it's essentially just...
Did you say neurocognitive? That's a $10 word.
It is, neurocognitive.
All right.
So it mixes the cognitive portion with the neurological portion. It's the complete process for how we behave.
Cognitive is like awake?
No, cognitive is the function of behavior.
Okay.
And so it's
like tying my shoes. It's like the function of tying my shoes is a cognitive thought. It's not something where I have to read an instruction manual every time I do it.
Kind of.
Okay.
I can't explain. I mean, it would take 2 or 3 of these episodes to explain cognition.
Okay. No, it's brain stuff, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
I should be better at being able to explain it to a 5th grader, but I'm not that good to be able to explain it to a 5th grader.
So
I'm not that good with 5th graders to be able to explain it.
Well, I'm going to discount your $10 word, and we're going to put it on sale for 90% off and call it brain stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Brain stuff.
So
Hashtag.
as we grow and develop, we experience a lot of different things. Okay. So I'm not going to go into math because the math gets really boring. Some people find it really interesting. It really helps when I have a lot of visuals. So maybe I'll do this as a hot potato video.
Tune in. We will have a puppet show.
Right.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like Kermit.
Well, I mean, we could use Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, we could have Mr. Potato Head come in, and I was thinking about. I have too many like crazy video ideas about Mr. Potato Head and some shorts that'll be probably coming eventually soon.
Nice. But no, so every day, so our brains process on average. I'm going to say on average because it depends on what you're looking at. If there are a lot of things versus a plain white wall. Okay, but your brain on average processes 60 frames of visual input per second. Okay. And so you've got 60 frames of visual input. It's like taking 50 photographs every second. Okay. Or 60 photographs every second.
All right.
And then when you take that and then you do every minute, now you're at 3,600 frames, individual pictures of visual input every minute. And so as you add up throughout the day, an average waking day, you have about 3.5 million individual photos that your brain is processing. That's just the visual input. Okay. We're not talking auditory. We're not talking physical sensation. We're not talking any of the other senses. This is just visual. So you can imagine what your brain is processing every single day. And within each one of those pictures, if you go to your phone, you can go to your phone and go to the photos, type in cat or dog or truck, and it'll pull up all your photos in your photo library of those things that you put in. Google was touting this a couple years ago as, advancements in AI and all this. And it really was, because that's a fundamental part about how our brains process information, is it catalogs all that information. Now, we've moved away from that, as we've talked about before. The term AI has been dumbed down.
What's funny, I think about that, and I think about like the prove I'm not a bot, when it's like, in this stack of pictures, which one has a door, And I'm like, but you also have the opposite of that, where Google has an AI that catalogs all
Apple
the
does
doors.
it too.
So crazy.
So here,
I just think it's funny that you also prove what it catalogs to prove that you're not what that thing is that catalogs. So
so here's my phone list. I'm just going to show you. I don't know if it'll pick up on any of the cameras here, but I have not tagged any of these. I'm not that, these pictures aren't that, important to me. I mean, I do have my kids in here, and those might be tagged, but beyond that, I mean, I don't go in and tag a photo of, I don't know, a receipt.
Okay.
But I can go in here and I can go to search, and I'm going to put in truck. And there we go. That's what pulled up. So I have 3 pictures in here.
Then it evaluates the truck. That's crazy.
And
I didn't even know that was a feature in my phone.
Yeah.
You know how bad I've needed that? When I'm like, oh, that picture that I have of this or that I'm like, okay, scrolling. What year was that this, okay, scrolling. I'm like, I need to dump my phone photos because there's way too many pictures in here. So, yeah.
So the system with the operating systems and the apps will track all the information that's in that picture. It'll catalog anything that's in there.
Okay.
So if you've got a cat, a dog, truck, car, whatever, you can put the color red and it'll pull up. And so what it does, and this is essentially what our brain does, is it catalogs every one of those 3.5 million individual pictures that it's taken that day.
Yeah.
Okay. And then through a complex algorithm, it assigns values of importance and reactions and priorities of those that were in the picture. There's a whole lot of algorithmic functions that go into it that then help us determine what we do in the future.
Okay.
Okay. So that's how we cognitively learn. That's why every adult, when they get to adulthood and they start yelling at their kids, they will inevitably say, I sound just like my parents. It's because their brain cataloged that as a child, that in this situation, this is what your parents did. And so when you face that same situation as a parent, you do the exact same thing as your parents did because you don't have anything better. Okay. This is also why on second thought is a very important and vital part of our conversation, because our initial reaction is going to be what was programmed maybe 20 years ago. But then we have to stop. Is there a better way to react to this, given all the individual circumstances that we've come across? In that moment, in the instant to survive, your brain's going to pick the closest, what it thinks is the best scenario based on this algorithm. And then it reacts that way. Again, this is about survival. And so you sound just like your parents. But then you give it a couple of hours, you sit down, you calm down, you relax, and all of a sudden you've thought better about what your reaction was. And you go and say, I shouldn't have reacted this way. I should have reacted this way.
Yeah.
And that's because now the brain has cataloged all of that information that happened and reformed what the actual best reaction should have been. And then it creates the neural pathway that in future interactions, this is the better reaction.
So my parents were right when they scolded me that way because I sound just like them now?
No.
Okay. Thank God.
No, because when you go back and you say, oh, I shouldn't have reacted that way, it's because you have new information that allows you to react in a better, more holistic, or we've talked a lot about parenting here, a better parenting way.
I was a little worried that my kids are going to say things that I've said, and I'm like, that's a terrible idea.
They will.
But it's a bad idea, no matter what.
Yeah, but they will also have that on second thought moment. And so we can't discount the on second thought, because that is a calm brain that's actually analyzing more data. It's because when you initially react, it's taking that surface information. But then when you have time for the brain to process all this, that's when all the better information is coming through. It's getting a more deep process. It's skimming a book versus reading a book.
So how do you tie this into relaxation?
And that's exactly what it is the brain does not, it has to react in given situations. The only time that it has to actually process all of the rest of that information, tying, you've got 3.5 million a day. So by the time you get to be a 30-year-old adult, you're talking in the billions, trillions, I don't have the number in front of me, of all of this cataloged information to be able to react to. And so what it has to do is any new situation recatalogs it with all of that older information. And that takes time. Our brains are fast, but they're not that fast.
Right.
And so in order to reprocess all of that information, it needs to be not active. That's why it's so important to relax, is because if you don't relax, your brain never processes the new information. And therefore you cannot develop better.
Okay.
And then the longer you go without that relaxation, the more the brain is trying to do multiple processes at once. So if you've ever had a computer that you're trying to do a whole bunch of work on, and then all of a sudden you hear the fan go because it has to speed up because the processor's heating up because it's doing so much extra work. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on in your brain.
Oh, we call that blood pressure. That's what that is.
And so what's happening is your brain is trying to actively function in the world by performing activities, while at the same time trying to catalog all the past information that you've had since the last time that you relaxed.
Okay.
And so when we sleep every night, what it does is it catalogs all of that information from that prior day, and it puts everything where it needs to be. That's why we dream. That's why we generally dream about the things that happened that day or things that we're thinking about that need to happen the next day, because your brain's just processing all of this information and cataloging it. Imagine just a little guy sitting in a giant filing room, and he's got this huge stack of paperwork, and he's just taking each one and filing it, copying as needed to go into multiple different files so that they all interact to each other. Okay. And imagine if, as that person is trying to do that, you are adding a whole bunch of new stuff to it. Is he going to be very efficient?
No, not at all.
And that's what happens to us when we don't take time out. If we don't get that 8 hours of sleep that we need, if we don't take a couple hours a day to just not think.
I mean, I just said 38 minutes was hard. You said a couple hours.
Yes.
And honestly, we go back a couple episodes and we talked about maximizing all the time in our day. And we're like, yeah, we could definitely do that. However, I do know that during that episode, we also talked about the math that allows a time for that relaxation.
Yeah. So I am an advocate of working 60 hours a week at minimum. And so now, not necessarily for everyone, but 60 hours a week should be the norm. And that's because that still gives us about, I think we figured it out, it was 20 to 30 hours a week outside of that for relaxation. So relaxation, you relax while you take an hour lunch break. Take a nap. Watch a TV show. Because it's important to take these breaks throughout the day. because it allows your brain to process a smaller amount of information, and you're that much more efficient throughout the day by taking regular non-thinking breaks.
Yeah. I think the average break time that they came out with, not like collectively, was 38, but it's like 17 minutes.
Yeah. But and that's horrible because it's not enough time for the brain to actually process. But working 60 hours.
And usually breaks are like having a conversation next to the coffee pot,
Yeah.
you know?
And you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, this is like a power down, kind of a power nap kind of an
That's
idea.
exactly what it is you need to completely power down. This isn't you're watching or you're not watching your TikToks, you're not on YouTube, you're not on your social media looking at the most recent stuff.
Gotta play my solitaires for the next 15 minutes, you know?
If you're going to watch something, make it something you've watched before.
Yeah.
Because then you're not processing new information. This is old information that's already been processed. And so there's not as much of a need to refile all this information.
But the live action Last Airbender series just released, and I haven't even started it yet.
Yeah, I've already binged that. I'm done with that. So you've got to find the right times to get these things done.
Okay.
And the more time you take to relax throughout the day, the more efficient you will be. You have to shut down. So shut your brain down. And the more you do that, that's how you get to be able to work 60 hours a week, because you're going to be able to process all the information in that time. You're going to have the relaxation built into those 60 hours. And so it really is, from a scientific, from a neurological standpoint, from a cognitive standpoint, it is really important that we take those breaks in order for our brain to process.
I'm sure that at this point, because it's running through my head right now, is the question about like, I don't know how that's possible. Not because of, like I have a busy life. Like if I were to take the example of today and what I've been doing since I woke up this morning, I don't have an opportunity to stop. Now I'm going to be driving and I'll probably listen to something while I'm driving. But other than that, like it's not a full power down, because I'm still, while I'm driving, I got billboards and this sign and listening to whatever I'm listening to. So it's not a shutdown. Yeah. And I'm not saying like you have to go and tell people like, shut your face. I'm relaxing right now. Can't you see I'm relaxing? I have a 7-year-old. That doesn't exist in my life. So, but having all of that stuff, I'm trying to kind of like get this intentional. Like this is stressful. Like this is really intense. I'm going to have days where it's not going to work. But I think the point is the pursuit of it. Yeah. So pursue the opportunity to find relaxation, and you will start to find how that becomes part of your normal thinking throughout the day. You're like, oh man, there's this little window right over here. I'm going to take a minute just to catch my breath. I'm going to do a breathing exercise, or yeah. I'm going to shut my eyes for just a second to just kind of like catalog my busy morning that I had, or whatever it is, And if you had a day where some moment in that was tough, take that time right afterward, so that you're not mulling on something angry, that you're just kind of reciting some sort of exchange that you had with a customer. Oh yeah, well you did, like you're not in that moment anymore. So excuse yourself, take a moment to reset and relax, because that's invaluable right there.
It is. And that's why when we're stressed, we have those more volatile reactions, is because the brain really is just pulling the most surface level examples of our entire history on how to react. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do a deep think the more stressed we are. And so the more we can reduce the stress throughout the day, the much better we will be with all of our interactions. And to anyone who has kids, hopefully you have a partner who's going to help you with that, to be able to give you that time to take some time off. If it's a half hour, if it's an hour, let your partner take over some of those responsibilities so that you have that half hour or hour to relax.
But I would also say this, even if you don't, and you're working with kids, in those situations, raising your kids up to know They need that time just like you do. So sharing that time. Hey, we're going to power down for this next little bit. I'm going to set a timer, and that way, like, we're going to have quiet time. And that quiet time is we're going our separate spaces. Maybe you can go hang out in your room. If you want to read a book, that's fine. That's, a recommendation for unwinding. Even though it's a book, you're not scrolling through social media getting stimulated every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So
This is also why teenagers are always tired. This is why they sleep in. This is why they are constantly tired. It's not because they're not getting sleep at night, because we know teenagers sleep like 10 hours a day.
yeah.
They go to bed at 1, but they wake up at 11. But they're constantly tired because they are processing so much new information. During the teenage years, they're reprocessing a lot of data that they've already acquired prior to those teenage years. And so because their brains are working so insanely hard to process information, they are constantly tired. So that's why teenagers are tired. It's not because they're lazy. It's because their brains are processing massive amounts of information.
I think that if I think about like massive amounts of information for teenagers, maybe I don't give it enough credit or enough slack, let's say, for in the sense of like, why don't you ever hear me when I ask you to empty the dishwasher, kind of a thing. I'm like, if I think about all of the stuff that they're inundated with, it's fine. But I also see that like my kids, my teenagers, like they subject themselves to it. Like there is so much that like I could help, but they don't want to listen to me. I'm just dad. And so, dad is not qualified to speak into, the amount of stuff that they are subjected to nowadays. And I'm like, well, I'm subjected to the same stuff. I'm subjected to a lot more than you. And I've been doing it a while, so I'm kind of used to it and used to the deprivation from relaxation. And so, yeah. But the idea I think is just to gravitate. It's the stressing that we can't say it enough. We can't stress it enough. How important it is to be intentional about finding the space in your life constantly. And sometimes it's going to merit more. Sometimes it won't merit that much for you to utilize, and pursue a moment of relaxation. And I'm going to add an article to the show notes that basically is just 18 ways to relax instantly. Like basically, calm down, hit the pause button, and in less than 15 minutes you're solid again. And so they're just good tactics that can just kind of intervene throughout your day. I'm not going to go through them in detail on this episode, but at the same time, there's a couple other episodes that we've done over the last honestly since the very beginning of us doing this podcast. One of them is rapid de-stress techniques for the always on the go. And that one we actually went into some detail on some techniques, some different ways to do those things almost instantly, like not even the 15-minute relaxation. I think this is even more detailed as far as going for, we're talking a longer relaxation than even 15 minutes sometimes. And the other one is the unexplored relationship between mental health and house cleaning. We just kind of talked about how some of those things within our house that are little tasks can almost be, mental breaks where we don't have to do anything but just kind of do the dishes. And it doesn't take, you're like putting together a puzzle into the dishwasher or washing dishes and trying to get that food that's stuck on a pan. And some people, that might be stressful. I don't like folding laundry, but I have to do it. I probably wouldn't call that relaxing. But if it means that that's the only thing I'm focused on, maybe it's a form of relaxation where I can, catalog my thoughts in that moment.
Yeah. It's and I think when you said intentional, be intentional about it, that is the important thing. If it's a 15-minute meditation break during your lunch, great.
Yeah.
If it's a 10-minute, you're going to go sit in your car out in the parking lot at 10 in the morning after 2 hours of being at work, great. Take the time. So it used to be that we took a lot more breaks during the day, during the workday. And that's why we got to the 40-hour work week, is because a lot of times we were taking the breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really good. But we've lost that. And we need to get that back, that relaxation time. Again, I'm an advocate of a 60-hour work week. But that 60-hour work week needs to include a lot of time to process and relax. That's what allows it to be possible. I teach a personal finance training program. It's not necessarily there. We've talked about it before. There's no perfect budget system. There's no perfect financial system for anyone. The most important thing is find something that works for you. And so this program is more about how to develop yourself and new ways to think about finances, find something that works for you. It's more about learning to be a better version of yourself within your financial outlook. But one of the steps that is one of the most important in there is actually relax. That is one of the steps, step 6. It's the final step, review and relax. And it's in there because it is so important to the process. And this is what I say in it. So in just summary, I pulled out the curriculum I have for this, but this is what I say. Rome wasn't built in a day. And financial freedom takes time. You are human. Don't expect more out of yourself than you can accomplish. Stretching and reaching is the means to build yourself up. But without a cool down and relaxation, you will never find true peace and happiness, just stress and overexertion. Push yourself each day, but take time to enjoy the results of that workout. And that's the important thing here is take the time out. Whatever it is.
Flossing.
If it's flossing, great. Floss those teeth to perfection. But just find it. Again, there's no one perfect way for everyone. That doesn't exist. But find what works for you, and that's what's going to allow you to be able to be more fulfilled as a person.
Yeah.
And be able to accomplish a whole lot more in life.
The article that I talked about, the New York Post one, it lists a bunch of other ones that are percentages of go-tos for individuals who are looking to, for self-care things. But I think one of the biggest things is just, like you said, it's not an exact science. It's not like this will be your cure because we know you and your life and how exactly it, adds up to this moment that you need for relaxation. No, we're not even going to guess that. We're the idiots guides. Like, we're trying to figure ourselves out. So, there's no reason for us to try to assume anything in your life. What we're going to do is throw this out there. This is how, some of the stuff that we've been able to kind of put together that is general opinion. But at the end of the day, taking that time comes down to your own intentional care, your own intentional attention on yourself to make sure that you are looking for those opportunities throughout the day to just hit pause. I remember when we have like a really, really exciting evening or something like that, we do what's called hush puppies in the car. And my daughter's bouncing off the wall. She's 7, so she's just got all the energy. My boys are being crazy and just being wild and punching each other because they're teenagers and they're like hit for hit, like whatever. But we all of a sudden we go 1, 2, 3 hush puppies and it's silent. And then now it becomes, obviously it's a game, but it becomes this moment where we have peace, we have quiet, and everyone's my whole house is so competitive that they will not break that silence. They're just like, even a chuckle, and they're like, "You're out, I'm out," it's so great. But it's those moments that we try to incorporate just to be like, look, even if it takes putting yourself in something like that, playing a game with your mind, 1, 2, 3 hush puppies. I'm going to be quiet. I don't want to say anything until someone else breaks that silence, but I don't know, find what works for you, find what is enjoyable. Don't, if flossing your teeth isn't your jam, then don't do it. But
still floss your teeth. Just don't use it as relaxation technique.
Right. Relax flossing. I don't, My son does the floss dance. It doesn't look very relaxing because I can't figure it out.
There
So,
you go.
but um, yeah, it's not an exact science. It's recommendations from all sorts of different directions, but really it's what brings you peace. Crafting ideas to house cleaning ideas, to just breathing exercises, to closing your eyes for a moment. There's meditation apps. There's an app that I use and my kids use. It's called, oh goodness, what's it called? Declutter the Mind. It's just an app. It's free and it's great. It's guided meditations if you want. It's not guided meditations. It's just you can have silent time where it just sits there and plays tones. But the goal of it is to, even if you have, and you need just 5 minutes to just take down that blood pressure so that you're not, your cooling fan doesn't kick on because you're processing so fast. You know, all of those things are great. None of them are wrong.
Yeah. And here's the reason. So I did the math. So as a 30-year-old, assuming 8 hours of sleep a night on an average day, by the time you're 30, visual inputs only, so the number of photographs that you've taken throughout your lifetime, again, on average, 60 frames per second, 37 billion, almost 38 billion individual photographs that your brain is processing and using for future interactions. That's at 30 years old. Okay. And it's only up from there. And so if you think about the 30 billion individual potential visual inputs, again, this is visual only, not the other senses, there is no possible way, even if you're a twin and you spend all of your time with that twin, there is no way for you to have the same set of neural inputs for your brain to process for us all to be the same. It's mathematically impossible. And so this is mathematical proof. No two people are the same.
Yeah.
And so no two solutions will work the same way for all people, or no solution will work the same for potentially two individual people. So
what's the number on a daily basis? Isn't it like 5 million?
It's
I know it sounds like I know it's somewhere in the ballpark.
Daily, it's 3.5 million.
3.5 million. Okay, so average is 3.5 million. There is everything out there trying to inundate you with more imagery so that you have more to overwhelm you every single day. So if that's what you're processing daily, that's why it's so important that I can think about 37 billion by the time I'm 30, and that's a daunting number. But if I think about, okay, what is that every single day? And if it's 3.5 million that I'm doing, like even for you, I think I did the math. Like if you were standing there trying to count to a million, I think it takes you almost like it's like 12 days straight.
Yeah.
Constantly counting to get to a million. And so, that just to think that that's how much we're being inundated with every single day, it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming.
And that's just frames, the picture frames, or individual pictures.
Yeah.
I am not even talking about the number of objects within that your brain is cataloging, because it's cataloging every individual object, every individual sound. So it's not just, you hear a symphony, your brain is cataloging every single one of those instruments. That's why if you close your eyes and listen carefully and listen for a specific instrument in a symphony, you can hear that instrument. It's coming through. It's just processing it all together and individually. And so in order to get the best sound out of it. But the vast amount of information that your brain processes is just astronomical. And so you need to take the time to relax.
Yes.
It is that important. I mean, just from a neurological standpoint, it's that important to be able to process all that information. Brain stuff. Just for brain stuff, you need to be able to do it. But don't stress yourself out about relaxing, because that just adds to your stress.
God, I'm so stressed. I haven't relaxed today.
But just find what works for you, because again, it's different for everyone. And the math proves that it's different for everyone. Whatever your individual circumstances have come to, that's what helps define what works best for you to be able to relax.
Awesome. Well, I hope this episode's been really good. Honestly, we've done this. We can't touch on this subject enough. It is so valuable. It's so important. And honestly, everything that we do as far as functionality in our normal everyday life, this is foundational to our just function. And so we can't stress it enough. Guys, if you're new to the podcast, like, subscribe, even leave a comment or two. We'd like to hear from our listeners, and if this stuff is valuable and helpful to you, let us know. We want to get it in front of more viewers that way. But we have reached the end of our show, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Life's too short, so keep laughing, keep learning, and remember, idiots have way more fun.
Check your shoes.